Hi! Before we begin the video, please remember to leave a comment, leave a like, because YouTube's been stifling my channel as of late. And I've been told that a lot of you guys aren't actually getting my videos recommended or even alerted to. I really want to make YouTube a major part of my life, but I need you guys to help. Just leaving a comment and a like helps the video out greatly. And if you actually want to keep following me, please go down to the description to check out my Discord server and my Twitter to keep up with me. Alright, time for the video. I like to think I know a few things about Rwby. After all, at the time of me scripting this video, my most popular video is where I talk about the issues with the latest season of the original show. Although to the hardcore people, I am just a hater.
You all came here because you want to get rid of the trash. I got that right?
So I'm stuck in an odd predicament considering where I stand with the new animated series. You've got people who are going to think that I'm just going to hate the anime adaptation because it's Rwby, or you got people thinking that I'll consider the anime adaptation to be superior since I've made video after video after video praising Japanese media.
It's like one of my Japanese animes.
Then again, considering that this is the internet we're talking about, no matter what I say, people will label me as a terrible person because I dare to criticize something that they like.
No complaining.
But this isn't a video to vent out my mental disorders that I usually keep behind the scenes. Rather, this is a video about Rwby, Ice Queendom, the anime adaptation of the original Rwby Volume 1, or at least the first 3 episodes since the others haven't come out yet. Now, I'm not expecting to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb here, mainly because not only have I seen this stuff before, only in a more condensed and frankly less appealing manner than the original. Look, I'm not a fan of 3D animation, especially since it's been jammed down my throat so much, at least not in the same vein as 2D animation. Because in all honesty, if you think this is better than this, well, that's your opinion, but I'd ask you to get your eyes checked. I'm not trying to say that the efforts of the original Rwby should be mocked. Well, some instances I do, but I do have an obvious preference over 2D over 3D animation. The lack of animation errors certainly helped me feel that way about the notion too. Speaking of, the anime animation is fluid. Of course, if you look at the animation trend, you'll find multiple times where the characters will be having headshots with limited mouth movements, or the screen will move to give the appearance of movement. At the very least, with the 3D models, the characters would move in a lot of scenes, for better or worse. Still, it's up to a matter of personal preferences, really which style you prefer. But frankly, I like this 2D version more, at least when it comes to the animation styling, which is to be a given considering who is behind this whole thing. Now, we'll get to the real meat of this review, the story and pacing. Essentially, this is a retelling of the first few episodes of Rwby, along with their trailers, oddly enough. I say retelling because there are some new scenes and even a new character added into the mix. Shion Zaiden, Nightmare Hunter. I'll get more into this later since I'm of two minds with this edition, but let's focus on something that I really miss with the anime version, the comedy.
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking.
This is something that I think the original show did a lot better with its material, considering that they took an approach of the Western animation where they could add more ad-libbing and clever editing tricks. I'll give a couple examples so you can see what I mean.
No! Comedy gold!
The first is the removal of the ad-lib line. It's a legitimate funny line, its removal is really notable, but it's not the only example.
I'm queen of the castle, I'm queen of the castle.
Nora!
Coming, Ren.
Did that girl just ride in on an Ursa?
Comedy gold.
And in the anime version,
ノーラ、お願いだから普通に戦ってください。
あの子、アーサーに乗ってた。やるね
お城のレリックゲット。あたしが女王様、では王様だよ。
はいはい。
the scene is quite a bit less memorable. And while Rooster Teeth pushed that joke into the ground a little bit too much for my taste, it certainly cemented Nora's character a bit more solidly than in the anime. I've got one more and then we'll move on. In the original, when Rwby was being taken in after, beating up the goons of Torchwick, there was a quick cut to Rwby being happy to meet a huntress with Glinda Goodwitch, only to be thrown in jail afterwards. And then Osmond shows up with a plate of cookies and a cup of bourbon, which Rwby stuffs her face with the cookies. It's funny. In the anime, not only do they add fluff scenes between Rwby meeting Glinda and then being interrogated, but when Osmond shows up, Rwby doesn't touch the cookies at all. Again, this is something that is both funny but also played to the character's personality, since it was able to show that while Rwby can understand the situation she's in, she's still just a young kid. Why even have the cookies if you're not gonna have Rwby eat them? I think this also plays to the anime's pacing too, which is a bit of a problem, since it switches between the scenes being adapted from the original animation and adding more scenes and context to them. Take for example Xion, another character that was specifically added to help Jean and Team Juniper get more scenes of getting close, with Jean getting infected with a weird grim that shows Jean's inner demons heckling him and not being able to live up to his family's reputation. I do appreciate Jean getting more character development, as well as showing how close Team Juniper is. The way it's done is way too quick though, as it shows up and immediately gets resolved within a matter of 10 minutes with the animation.
So that means you don't want to know what I found.
I didn't say that.
And I understand that it's to be set up for Weiss to go through her own version of what Jean goes through, since at the end of episode 3 we get the same scenery and imagery being played with her. There was also the decision to overhaul the fight scene on the docks between Blake, Sun, Torchwick, and Penny, so they cut it, which sucks. I understand we're getting more of a focus on Weiss since, well, Ice Queendom, but the anime has already shown that it was willing to showcase views outside of Weiss. It should be known that we should get more and more character points of views. Weiss in the original was the focus of development for a good portion of runtime in Volume 1. She was racist, and had to learn not to be a jackass to the angsty cat girl Blake. Going off script for this one, but I actually find it very interesting that Yang actually calls Weiss a bigot in the anime.
Oh, did I offend you? Sorry. Yes, some gangbangers are softies.
Meanwhile, in the animation originally, Yang just pretty much meant, "You really don't care for her?" Which I like. I think it's better just to call a spade at this point, you know? Now, I do have an issue with this because this is an issue I have with the original and in the anime, and it looks like Rwby isn't going to be the main focus of the show that has her be the main flipping character. This was something I didn't care for in the original series, and it's something I had a fear would happen with the adaptation. I mean, it's literally called Ice Queendom. I think it would have been obvious to have that thinking that, we're going to be focusing on Weiss first? But I like to have some hope that I'd be wrong, even if it's just 1%. But nope. I'd also like to bring attention to the music. Obviously, the musical moments are necessary. Almost everything needs good music. And while I won't lie and say that the original Rwby had some bangers, it also had its fair share of duds. Its bangers were the music playing during fights, and when you're fighting in like an action game, for example, you get these sick tunes playing that help you get in a rhythm with the fighting concepts. And it really makes the scene stick out more and make them more memorable. Meanwhile, you had the background music in the original just be something that comes from a PSA special at times. I'm not saying the anime has bad music, but without Casey Lee, it feels like something is missing. Like, say what you will for Rwby's writing animation, its action music was always top tier. Save for, well...
Rub the dishes in the sink, no one said that you should think.
Now, granted, with everything I've stated, I can't really give a definitive answer as to whether or not the show is actually better than Rwby, except with the animation itself. That's a step above the cut, whenever they actually show it. But the anime does have its weaknesses. But since we've only got the first 3 episodes released to the public, it's too early for me to say if it's better or worse than the original. I've already given you my first impression thoughts, but I will say it's adding new elements and scenes to it, so I do think it's enough to warrant at least a first impressions video and at least do a comparison piece so far. Hopefully when it comes out and I can see more of it, I can give you my proper thoughts on it. Still, I hope the series is good. At the very least, I'm more interested in what the character developments are going to be like, and I wonder what they're going to do for the adaptations. If you enjoyed the video and made it to this point, please leave a comment saying, "Maggie